Right. Maybe last question. I mean, as a former Wall Street guy, we see these news. I mean, BlackRock is considering crypto. Goldman is actually putting a trading desk in place for crypto. How do you see these articles?
Yeah. Don't start me on that too. But you just did. I think they have no idea what they're getting into. I think it's way too early for institutional investors to come in. I think
why?
Well, because it's not just a new asset class. It's very different. It has a lot of really complicated technological matters around it. So, custodying crypto assets is a whole other story right now, and that's another thing that I'm really trying to fix with Adapt.
The custody. Yeah, the custody.
Yeah, because I'm trying to improve the user experience there. Custody, regulation, the systemic risks of these networks are all really important topics to consider. The risk profile is very different. The tail end risks are very different. And so large investors, large institutions have to be very, very careful in this space. They should absolutely have people on board who know what they're doing, which unfortunately is really hard because a lot of people can sound very smart, but they will have no idea what they're doing either. So I don't even have a good advice about how to pick your advisors correctly because the space is so filled with really bad, shallow thinking. Bitcoin is the store of value and it's going to win. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to win, but I'm saying that this type of thinking is too shallow. You really have to look at the details. When you think about Bitcoin and what's going to happen to Bitcoin in 5 years, you have to look at miner incentives. You have to look at transaction fee dynamics. You have to look at energy. You have to look at manufacturer monopoly on mining equipment. You have to account for all of those matters before you even begin to understand what Bitcoin will do in 5 years. Same for Ethereum. You have to know the development team. You have to know their strategy. You have to know their community. You have to know the technology landscape for bytecode machines. There's so many pieces to all these systems. They're very new. They're very complex. And just to say, look, we want to invest in crypto is like saying nothing, right?
So all these billionaires, we've seen Mark Lassery, we've seen Tim Draper. All these guys are quite bullish on crypto.
And I see them, all of these big guys, time and time again, make very, very stupid choices. And I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? You're smart, you know how to invest your own money. But I see like really bad choices, really bad connections, really a lot of.
What is a bad choice, for instance?
So, for example, I don't know exactly who, but somebody mentioned, who invested in IOTA, for example, right? You look at IOTA and you look at what every technology person who has ever looked at IOTA is saying. And you're like, why would you ever invest into that system, right?
Because?
Well, so I personally didn't do that research, but a lot of people that I really trust in this space are questioning the cryptography model of IOTA and the economic model of IOTA, right? And then if you're an investor, looks like, you have to know this, at least. You have to understand it. You have to have people on your team who understand it in order to invest into these systems.
So more fundamental analysis, actually.
Of course, because currently a lot of the big investors are going for the fear of missing out. The new platform is coming out, I have to invest. And of course it makes sense, like if you invest a lot of money, you should spread it out between multiple platforms. But seeing some really big names back projects that have a lot of controversy around them, for me is frankly strange.
Do you have a personal favorite? I mean, the portfolio of Coinfund, is it more focused on these protocol layers or more decentralized platforms?
We choose and invest in projects across the entire stack. And we
ICOs?
yeah,
Okay.
when we can. But we choose projects based on team history, based on looking at their code, looking at their technology. We prefer projects that we participate with when we feel that the team is receptive to our opinion. We generally really like the project because that means we can help the team understand how to put together something much more sound than if they didn't have that type of input. But we don't pick and choose the area. We choose good projects from every vertical, every stack, every layer of the stack, and we don't discriminate that way because there's frankly very few. There's probably, I would say, only like 0.5% of all the projects that I see are really engaging some really solid thinking. And so there's very few projects that are solid. And so when you find a project that is solid, you want to invest in it because it doesn't matter where it is.
For instance, R-Chain, or I'm just thinking of a few projects. What kind of project? Do you have an example? Last question.
I don't think I can. I'll give you my personal favorites. How's that? So you mentioned R-Chain. R-Chain is a great project. It's really innovative. It's extremely technologically advanced. And so I personally really love the community and the people involved, right? We like Ethereum because Ethereum, I think, has probably one of the better chances of going forward in the space. We are now looking at various state channels and layer 2 projects. That's very interesting to us. We look at ideas in social networking. We look at ideas in merging the legal space and the technology space. So we're investors in Materium, for example, which is the Vinay Gupta's project. We, out of all the protocols out there, we have an investment in Kadena, which is a very interesting project. It's very different.
Kadena.
Kadena, Kadena.
Cardano, for instance, is that? I mean,
we're not investors in Cardano, and I looked at that project and I find it a little bit overweight. One of the issues I have with platforms is that they tend to over-engineer themselves, which is, by the way, also true about R-Chain. Okay, but R-Chain I have a personal connection to, but Cardano I don't. So unless I really sit down and talk to the team and understand what they're doing, I'm probably not gonna have the same amount of interest in them. What else? What else can I give you? Well, I don't know.
For instance, Dash, and I'm just guessing a bit.
We're not investors in Dash, but Dash has actually ramped up as a platform. I spoke with the CEO. I think they're doing a wonderful job marketing themselves as a payment solution. I think they are very responsible. They're putting a lot of money back into this space and supporting all kinds of efforts with their nonprofit ecosystem fund. So as much as I like the project, I think Dash is, we just never. I don't think we've got a chance to really consider it an investment. It was long before our time that it started. So,
and EOS and NEO you're not considering at the moment. I mean, EOS got a lot of criticism. For instance, Root to Rhoda, the vlogger.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm torn on EOS, honestly, because Dan Larimer has a ton of good stuff out there, but then he leaves that stuff and goes elsewhere. So we don't know what's going to happen with EOS. It did get a lot of criticism. I looked at it very carefully. Some things I think are very innovative, and other things I didn't like. I think EOS is positioning themselves as a little bit too aggressive. Not a little bit. They're positioning themselves as pretty damn aggressive.
So a lot of money.
And yeah, I'm not at all supportive of oversized ICOs. I think a project like that should have raised, $6 million.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Aleksandr, for your interesting talk, and all the best here in the Netherlands, actually, meeting the community.
I love your community here. It's a great community, and for everybody who sees this video in an English-speaking country or in the States, I think you guys should pay attention to the Netherlands. It's going to be very interesting.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right.